Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm sure this is going to be a lot of exciting news for you to hear. I want to introduce my good friend Stephen Clarke, former professional hockey player, had an advertising agency for 25 years and sold it to the second largest advertising agency in the world. So had a lot of success with that. Thought he was going to retire with his lovely wife, Svetlana. And that only lasted about 6 months. They got bored stiff. So they said, okay, what's the next chapter? What are we going to do? So they decided all they wanted to do was do good in the world and have a strong impact on the giving space. They did a lot of or they had a lot of research done and whatever, and it was really a shocker with the information that they learned, which I know he's going to explain that to you. So, he's been on a great rise. It's been about 9 years. He's been working on this program and he's been modifying and modifying, and that will never stop. It's an evolution of these programs that he's created, and I'm excited to hear it again. I heard it many times over the last couple of days, but you don't get tired of it. It's just it's incredible. It gives you the chills every time you hear it. So. That being said, I think everyone's anxiously waiting to hear what he has to say. So, Stephen, take it away.
Very well, thank you, Claudio. I appreciate that, and welcome everybody. Good morning. So we're going to talk a little bit today about the giving space, and I'll talk both about Canada and the United States. But the focus of the slides I'm going to share with you today are about Canada. Uh, but as Claudio said, we actually retired for 6 weeks, not 6 months. We moved down to Scottsdale, hooked up with a bunch of my ex-hockey buddies, and within 6 weeks, we kind of both looked at each other and said, what is this? Is this actually what retirement is?" We were so bored. And I mean, it's so, bad to say it out loud, but it's like, golfing every day and with the toughest decision as to which restaurant you're going to have dinner in is not an exciting way to live life. Not for us anyway. I'm sure maybe for some people, but so we decided that we traveled a little bit, but when we were out, we kind of were looking for what was going to be that next chapter. We knew always it was going to be about doing good, but we didn't really know what that did. So before we left, I hired a research team, actually, people from that worked for me at Saatchi, and we said, look, at research the giving space. I've been on boards, I've given obviously through the companies and everything, but I really don't know that much about it. And so they did. So when we came back and started digging into that, it was kind of shocking actually, and I'll share with you why. Let me just bring this up. There we go. So here's an overview, and again, Canada, and I'll share with you. And this week we refer to this as the giving space or the charity and nonprofit world. So here's the information on Canada. And again, I'll share with you. So what they told me was that we give about $190 billion every year. And of that, we employ 2.5 million people, and that represents 150 billion. So when I looked at that, like 80% of if that is going to wages. So I was always wondering why, with all this money given, why causes weren't being completely eradicated. Why were they, in fact, in Toronto, why were they going up? Why was homeless going up, hunger going up? What was that? And so we deduced from all these, and this is, by the way, I never say that it's a bad thing. I mean, they're employing 2.5 million Canadians. I mean, that's a good thing. But what the bad thing for the normal person is that, you're giving your money to feed a child or to end homelessness or whatever it may be. And you look at this and say, not a lot of that is actually going to that particular thing. There are 170,000 charities and nonprofits in Canada. Um, and about half of those are charities, so you can get tax receipts. But as I said, these are changes that are going to have to be addressed. But in my opinion, based on my research and dealing with people, I don't think this industry is ever going to change. I honestly don't. I think this is the way it's run. I think the government, so you would say, somebody asked me when I was speaking not that long ago, why doesn't the government do something about it? Well, let me read that again. 2.5 million Canadians are being employed by this space. Whenever the government's talking about anything, they always, is one of the top three things, they always refer to the unemployment rates. And with great pride, we're going to go 2.3% or whatever it may be. They don't want to touch this space. They're kind of quite fond of the way it's working. So that's kind of what we looked at, and we said, okay, my conclusion was we need a new model. And that's a kind of a bold space at the time. Are you putting up your hand, Claudio?
Yeah, can you put it into presentation mode so it's full screen? I'm
Yeah.
not sure how it's showing on your end
Okay. Hang on.
because you can see all the slides on the side still.
Right. And hang on. And you don't like that. Is that better?
That's better.
You sure?
Yep.
Nothing
Thank you.
else? Okay.
Yeah, breakfast.
Uh, breakfast. Um, anyway, so we decided, or actually I decided that we were going to build a new model around this. That was a challenging time, quite frankly, because we had originally, when I first looked at this, I said, well, this is ridiculous. It's got to change. Then, as I said, we got really involved in it and researched and did interviews and everything else. And I came to the conclusion it's not never going to change. It's like changing the government. Let's change, let's do this. Yeah, good luck with that. So we decided that we were going to build a new model. And just so you know, we decided that this new model had to be a for-profit social enterprise. And you'll learn a little bit more. Here's one of the biggest problems in the industry today. And by the way, this is a growing noise that is um, could be a real something that really hurts the industry if they don't do anything about it. But they're not going to do anything about it because again, they're not going to make the change. They keep getting money in. Companies give money for tax reasons, regardless. So they're going to keep getting that, and they're going to keep getting government funding. So we looked at this and said, well, in our model, there's three things that we wanted to address, and transparency was the first one. People need to know where their money is going and what's the impact it's making. In fact, recently in San Francisco, on the front page of the paper, it was Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, who continually gives. She's a big time philanthropist, and she gives just it's a good cause. She gives it. You don't have to do a lot of stuff, and it makes her feel good. But recently, she just said, "I give a lot of money to the homeless in San Francisco, and it keeps getting worse. Where's my money going, and what's the impact it's actually making?" So when you start getting these people, talking out like that, other people are just going to join suit. And then you get the individual donors who are saying, yeah, where is my money going? So transparency was the key. This model, by the way, that I'm showing you, we have several. This particular one has been, we've been told by some people in the United States, where it's being beta tested right now, that this could be the biggest game changer in the history of the giving space. Because this particular thing, which is called the Benefactor Program, you'll see how it works. This one is going to be able to get more money going to the causes. And if every single charity did it, you would be raising 190 billion, and there'd be 190 billion dollars going to the causes to eradicate them. Not that every charity will. We would like that. So anyway, so transparency, loss of trust is a big thing right now, and that's already happening in the younger generation, where not only giving is declining, but volunteering is declining. And you don't want next generation coming on and saying, no, I mean, I don't know where it's going, so I'm just not getting involved. I mean, that's about the worst thing they could do. So we need to really do something. And as I said, our solution to this problem, which I believe is a very good one, is to create a for-profit and make sure that transparency, sustainability, That's another one. And by the way, it's not the sustainability that the climate people seem to have stolen and made that their word. Sustainability means where it keeps going over and over and over again. So, and then the other one, which that we believe strongly in, and is collaboration, working together. Now you have to understand, we know that the charity world doesn't really work together, but we also know why. I mean, they're going after the same grants, same donors, so it's kind of natural, and they're almost forced to do that, but it's still a flaw. We all know we're stronger together. So that's the deal on that. So our solution was to say, we're going to eliminate the noise around transparency, completely eliminate it. And so what in our model, we take that and we partner up, and you'll see here, what if we could, with a collaborative for-profit model, that we could eradicate 100% of a charity's overheads, including wages, travel, rents, everything, if they were taken care of by a third party, which would be us, of course, through the Benefactor Program. And then all of the money would go directly to the cause. And that's exactly what we did with this program. And here's how it works. And this probably is our secret sauce, not so secret because we're very transparent about everything we do, but this circular funding model, this revolves around everything. And the only way to really get, sustainability in anything, by the way, is to make sure that every touch point wins more than they put in. And that's the model that we created. And that's why it's a membership model. We get asked that a lot. Well, what exactly are you doing? Well, simplify it, we're building a membership model. And we're building the largest membership model of people wanting to do good in the world, which is called, by the way, the Do Good Society. And people become a member of our program. And through that, they get sustainability is created. We give them full transparency. I'll get into that a bit later. But we make sure that, again, they're winning more than they put in. So as long as people are winning more than they put in, they continue to do it, whatever it is. So it's like, we've all experienced, you want to get back in better shape and you start working out and you don't see results. You've got a real high percentage of not continuing it. But if you do get results, that's when you keep going. So provide results and people will continue to do it. And that's really the key. So this is the deal. That's why I say to the direct sale industry in the first, 90 days, make sure people start making money and they'll keep doing it. Fortunately, they don't do that. So again, everybody's got to win. So every touch point, it's all built around full transparency, is built around sustainability, which I believe through my experience, which is quite extensive, make sure every touch point wins more than they put in and they won't stop. And then collaboration. That's where the model is. So this is how it works here. This is what we're doing. We're doing one in Toronto. And by the way, I did say to people in the United States, in the United States, they raised 1.25 trillion. $800 billion of that is spent on wages. 12.6 million people. So just so you have context. This is the one we're doing. We're doing 6 right now in the United States, charities and nonprofits. The one we're just starting right now in Canada happens to be, as Svetlana mentioned, my wife, who has Immigrant Women in Business. And so all we do with this, the only way that what works is we just raise the money as they normally would. In this particular case, we're beta testing something here, but you raise the money and we take the money, we take 100%, in this case, $250,000, and we use that to do our program. And again, our program, we work to do this particular one. We work with social media influencers and we do marketing. Right? You do marketing to get the members. So in ours, we do marketing. We have our own purpose-driven creator company, but we also have many agencies across the United States and Canada that are partnering with us with their influencers. So we pay them. In this case, we're going to pay them $250,000, all the money we raise, and then they guarantee us what's referred to as a 5% So 5% of that would be 12,500. So now we have 12,500 members paying us $48.70. So of that, because we're for profit, we create a profit from that. And part of that profit we put back into these charities and nonprofits. But we can do that because of the circular, because it keeps the circular funding model. We can do that for 5 years. So now this particular nonprofit, my wife's, is going to get that money back for 5 years. And so any donation she gets, any grants, anything she gets is going directly back to the cause because none of it's going to the overheads. They're completely paid. And obviously she doesn't have it. She's got a couple of people there, but this can work for any charity, any nonprofit, regardless of the size. We've got some in the States right now, beta testing that are much larger. The first one we're doing right now is $2 million. So they're raising that and we're doing it. But it's really, again, all about, and you might just, before you question it, yes, we're giving this particular nonprofit back a little more than we normally would because it happens to be run by somebody I love dearly. So we're kind of giving her a little extra. But, and she wants to hire a couple more people. So that's really the deal there. But that's how it works. It's just a circular model, membership model. A member in our program could be, the equivalent to a donor in the giving space, in the charity world. So that's how we've kind of done this, made that so that it's that circular model. And that's really what we do. And again, just to be clear, this is one of our models. What we do strategically is, and that's what I was, by the way, in the advertising world. I was a creative business strategist, and I tell people, I get asked that a lot. Well, how did you become? I mean, you're a hockey player. What's this creative business strategist thing? And so I fell in love with the advertising world. But what happened to me was hockey players, as you all know, they get we get hit in the head a lot, pucks, sticks, everything else. And so we all, like everybody, has to have the right brain and left brain. And so what happened to me is I got hit so many times that those two brains merged. So I only have one. So I'm able to think a little bit differently than other people. Now, some people will say, really? And of course, the answer to that is no. It's ridiculous. I just made that up. It was a joke. But it just happened. I just learned and I loved it. And so strategies are really something great. So strategically, our company will tap into existing communities. So a community, for example, the first one we've tapped into now, and we've got cities launched in the States, and we're four here in Canada now, is the volunteer community, which is 80 million strong. Now, we also like to tap into communities that we can identify what we believe are flaws. So in the volunteer space, it's illegal to compensate a volunteer. They raise money for you, all that money's got to go. We thought that was based on everything we knew. We thought that wasn't quite right. So through our for-profit model with purpose-driven travel, we are able to have those volunteers of other charities come and do our program, which is of course feeding and I'll break that down for you in a minute. But do our program of feeding and helping us end homelessness, but then give back to their charity of choice more money actually, and for a longer period, but we can legally compensate them, and we do that with free travel. So that's the one model. We're tapping into the corporate world. So the shock in the United States, those numbers are because we deal mainly with corporate in the United States, but they again $1.25 trillion they raise, and of that, 25 billion is given by the corporate world. Every time I say that, people say, well, that's ridiculous. They should give more. Well, don't beat them up too bad because there's a formula that the governments in both Canada have created for the corporate world where they can take a percentage of gross profits and they can put that in, get their tax receipts, but they max that out. It's the formula. So you can't just give as much as you want. You do that to get a tax receipt, and then you pay your taxes, and then you've got after tax profit. Companies aren't giving after tax profit. They simply won't do that. So in our case, we say, but how much do those companies in the United States, those same companies providing 25 billion a year, how much are they giving spending in marketing? Because that's my space. Well, 500 billion. Well, why not just create a marketing program for them? It's going to deliver what they want, but also that we can incorporate what we want. And that's what we've done. We're tapping into corporate. We've got some really good corporate clients right now, like Toyota and Delta, and a couple of others that are really liking this, and we're beta testing it now for them in various cities. So those are the types of things we could tap into. Again, existing communities, somebody who's already else built, and in some cases, people will look at our model and say, well, this kind of is being done with donors and everything. Exactly. How do we know that volunteers will come and raise, through our program? Well, they're already doing it. In fact, in North America, volunteer donors raise over $135 billion. So they're already doing it. We're just giving them a kind of a better way to do it and being able to compensate them themselves. So that's what we do. That's the model we're doing. As Claudio mentioned, we're over 9 years now. We have faced, um, you know, unprecedented, maybe, uh, challenges, and I've been called a few, choice words because, I kind of knew this coming in, that the whole idea of a for-profit social enterprise in the giving space was not going to be well received. I knew that. I didn't know I was going to be attacked so much, but I've got thick skin, ex-professional hockey player, so that didn't bother me too much. Some of our other people it didn't sit well with, but we survived. We knew it. We knew this was going to be a long-term journey, but we knew we were going to come out at the end, and it was going to be well worth it. And we're getting to that now. We're starting to see the results, and it's becoming a lot of fun. I was speaking to somebody recently and said, "Yeah, I'm having more fun than I've ever had in my life. We're really enjoying this. Both my wife and I. She's helping immigrants and doing a wonderful job there, and so that's what the model's all about. RTG is our main company. They're poised to go public in the next 3+ years, and so we can go global. And it's exciting. And we already have a couple of global programs. People have asked me, yes, but here's the underlying thing, which we don't talk a lot about, but we really feel strongly about it. North Americans uh, give a lot, both Canada and the United States, and they give a lot globally. As we all know, we've seen, oh, we're giving a billion here, we're giving a billion. When I looked at this whole thing and I realized that 80% of all food charities in North America don't feed anybody in North America, we've got some big ones right here in Canada that don't. That didn't sit right with me. I'm like, why? What, it doesn't make sense. If you rate, why don't you keep part of it? And I met with some of these CEOs of food charities, and they were telling me about a child dies every 10 seconds of starvation and or malnutrition. And so we got to do something about that. Absolutely. I'm for that. I think that's ridiculous. But why don't you raise the money and send 80% and keep 20 here? Do something here. So I decided that everything we did was going to start in North America. So even programs right now, we're talking to the Minister of Education in Nigeria. So we're talking about that, and he said, "So, how would it work?" I said, "Well, if you get $1 million, for example, we're going to do our program here. But then, as this program states, we can give you back that money, or in their case, actually food, because that's what they're looking for, rather than money, and so that you can get that on an ongoing basis for the next, 3 to 5 years. And so, it's going to be a bigger impact for you, but it's going to start in North America. A project that we're talking to right now with the royal family in India is because they want to feed kids there. I'm like, well, what a joint venture! But we start here, and then we kind of take that money that we've through our circular funding model, and then we feed kids in India. But it's got to start here. I think that if we had more programs like that, we could help the world still. in Haiti through one of the programs we're going to probably do with it's either Toyota or Hyundai, is we're doing the program and then we're buying vehicles to send to Haiti because the doctors in Haiti that we're partnered up with want vehicles where they can go out and give care to the Haitians who can't get into the main cities to get that. And that's a big problem there that we were told. So we're dealing with this group of doctors, and so we're going to be providing the vehicles for them. But it'll be done because we're feeding and ending homeless here in North America. And that's really something I think is important that more people need to realize. I've talked to many, many charities and nonprofits in Canada and the United States that tell me that, yeah, we raise this money and that, and I'm saying, well, but you don't do anything here. And they're like, no, that's not our mandate. I still don't get it, by the way, and I'd like to consider myself somewhat intelligent. I don't get that one. I probably never will. So that's why we can partner up with them and do that. So that's it. I'll take any questions anybody's got. I mean, I'll stop that for there. I'm sure there are a few. It's kind of new, certainly not to us, but it is. And now this is our year. We got hit by COVID, as everybody did. We know that. We had a major, major contract with Wells Fargo in the United States. It's a huge deal. And then, of course, a bunch of things happened there that put that off. But now this was it. We're launching the Purpose Driven Travel as our first one. And by the way, Purpose Driven Travel will start with the charities and their volunteers. But once we do that for a year or two in the city and we show everybody, we prove it to them all, then we will just do this benefactor program. We will hit every charity we're working with and see if we can't do that. And we're hoping by then that the government will create in Canada and the United States, they will create, excuse me, oh wow, the benefactor grant because it would behoove the government to do that because quite frankly they'd save a ton of money if we came in and did that and they got that money to cover their things and they would actually start eradicating causes through that. So that's it. That's what we've got. A little different, maybe a little confusing, some of it. I think sometimes we get that, but anybody
Num-
have any questions, happy to answer.
numbers, right? So numbers does get confusing at times.
Yeah. So here's the secret sauce, and nobody really talks about it. But when they ask me, like you just did, I tell them volunteers, corporations, social media influencers, they don't have to do anything than what they're already doing. In fact, exactly what they're already doing. Instead of going out and saying, "Would you give me $50, for diabetes, because I've got diabetes, and, and you get a tax receipt." Now they go and say, "Hey, why don't you join this program? This program's great. It's 48.70 a month. And some of that money is going to diabetes, by the way, but you're also feeding a child. You're taking homeless people off the street, and you get all these goodies. They're just doing it differently, but they're doing exactly what they're doing right now. That's the secret sauce. Social media influencers. Right now, they do marketing and everything. They turn $1 into $5.25. They're in our program. We're saying here, give me a 5% return. And by the way, we need a guarantee. They're like, okay. And they're actually we created some great stuff, challenges. And you get 10 people who've got 5 million followers each and they challenge each other. We give them that. Remember, if we get $1 million of whomever, we give that back. We pay that in the marketing. So now we're paying, $1 million to these guys to do it. And then we even secretly we say to them, okay, guys, because when we do our Toyota deal, 2 cars a month, we give back to them, give away. That's only $720,000 worth of cars per year, $30,000 a car. We keep the rest and we keep them to do exactly that. Now you're going to do these challenges. And oh, by the way, the influencer who gets the most for us, most members, you're also going to win a Toyota. Oh, cool. So we include them back into these challenges with participants. You participate in this for 90 days. We're going to have a draw. You can win a Toyota, or you can win Delta tickets. And then Delta and Toyota are now getting all this additional free PR because of our program. But the answer to your question, Fred, is nothing more than they're doing right now. And that's what a Claudio. Oh, and Rob. Rob is the these guys are the trainers in each city, Ottawa and thing, and we have ones in every city that they will train them to do that. But I mean, really, it's nothing more than they're already doing, and that's kind of the Japanese way. If you recall, they kind of come in and they take something and they make it better, and all of a sudden everybody thinks it's Japanese, and they didn't really invent it; they just made it a better way to do things. So we've kind of copied that and said, okay, why don't we take the way they're doing it, like volunteers? They go out and honestly beg for money. Um, we've just changed that. We're still doing the same thing, still going out to talk to people and everything. So that's how that works. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool.